This week on the Analog Circle podcast, the Nintendo Switch is getting a huge game port that you wouldn't expect. Xbox Game Pass could be adding another game service into the subscription. We find out how many PlayStation 5s have been sold, and the DualSense controller has been reportedly having problems. All of these stories can be found here and many, many more in episode 158 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I got to say, I have missed you guys. It feels so good to be able to be back talking to you guys, because it feels like I've been gone away for months, and I know it's only been weeks, but man, that's just how much I have missed being able to be in you guys' presence, being able to talk to you guys. It is so great to be back, and we are in a brand new year, 2021. Man, everybody, I think, would all agree that we are very happy to be out of 2020. Throw it in the dumpster. We are in a brand new year, and I am sure that it is going to be a much, much better one. Now, guys, I gotta say, before I officially start the show, I have to give two special shout outs to two unbelievable people. First off, I have to shout out Mr. Free Fly Ferret, Fly Brother Fly, and I have to shout out Miss Alice. These two incredible, wonderful people, they did something unbelievable for me and my family. I had asked Free Fly Ferret, this was some time ago, maybe back in November, if he could make me a squirrel house. Now, I'm talking just basic. The squirrel houses that I have seen, it is basically a square piece of wood with a hole in it. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing fancy. This brother said, of course, I can make you a squirrel house, no problem. Now, what this brother did, good gosh, this brother, when I say he built the squirrel house, this brother built a squirrel house. It was not a square with a square piece of wood with a hole in it. This brother made a literal house. This thing has like these shingles on the roof. I mean, it was amazing the way he cut out the wood. It made it look just like shingles you would see on the roof. Amazing detail. He put a feeder on the side of it. Incredible craftsmanship here, guys. I mean, the feeder, that may as well be the kitchen for the squirrels to go out there and eat. And then on top of that, he put a gnome outside of it. He put a door in the front of it. This thing was absolutely incredible. And then to top it off, Miss Alice. Oh man, the color choices were absolutely wonderful. Fantastic. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, my lady, she has thoroughly enjoyed it and has greatly appreciated it. So I just had to shout you two guys out and just say thank you for just an amazing, sensational gift. It exceeded everything that I could have imagined that a squirrel house could be. Free Fly Ferret, Miss Alice, all I have for you guys is and thank you both so much for this. Just incredible. Now, man, I don't even know where to go from there. You know what? Let me just say this, but it was wonderful, man. God dog. It was so nice. But I'm gonna go ahead and move forward. What I would like to say is, hey, you guys are listening right now. If you want to be a part of the feedback section, which should be coming back, or we call it listener feedback, that's not going to be recorded on Wednesday, but it will be this week because I have to go into work tonight. I got to go up to Pittsburgh, and I know that's usually around a 2-day trip or so, so I'm going to get back at best Wednesday night, and I'm probably going to be tired, so I'll probably record it sometime on Thursday. But if you do want to be a part of that episode, and that episode is gonna be long, it's a lot of emails, and I appreciate it greatly that you guys have been writing in. Thank you guys so much. But if you want to be a part of that episode, you can do it 2 different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the analogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you want to listen to some previously recorded episodes of the show, all you got to do is type it into Google, the Analog Circle Podcast, and it'll take you to where you need to be, and y'all know the rest, and enjoy yourself. Now, I got to say, good gosh, my gracious, I have been into some gaming this week, man. Over the break, I just been into some gaming. Listen, man, I think the last time I left off, I was telling you guys that I was playing Gears of War Hive Busters. And that game, when I first started playing, it wasn't really heavy into it. Maybe about 45 minutes to an hour. I might have oversold it the first time. I said an hour or 2. That wasn't quite true. It was about 45 minutes, an hour at best. I have been further into this game. Now, keep in mind, it is a shorter, I guess, length of game than the average, but I've been really taking my time with it. I've really been snailing through it so far. But I got to say, God dog, where I'm at now in the game, it is no doubt that Rod Ferguson, that guy leaving the coalition, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. This game has been magnificent. I have enjoyed it. I don't want to oversell it, but I have had so much fun with this game. And keep in mind, it's a $20 DLC. This game has been fantastic. I mean, these set pieces that they have, whoa, my goodness. Whoa. It has been so marvelous. This game has really, let me tell you something. I got to give a lot of credit to the coalition. They really showed their chops off when it came to this game. I mean, the cast, the characters, I actually really like this cast of characters, man. I like the banter. You know, I just love the, what do you call it, man? I don't know the chemistry of the cast. It is really good. They got a surprise character that comes in a little later into the game. She has some backstory with one of the cogs. I'm not gonna spoil it, but good gosh, really, really good game. And I'm playing it on the big bone. That's right, the original Xbox One, the big bone VCR looking joint. And this thing has been performing absolutely fantastically. I'm telling you, when it was just this one set piece when you're going into the volcano. It's no spoilers, but you go into this volcano and you're chasing down one of the snatchers, and just the way that thing played out, man, I gotta say, good gosh. I mean, it just looks so good. Man, it looks so good. It plays very well. The voice acting is good. It's just been a lot of fun playing this game. And I would recommend that anybody excuse me, my voice is going to give out by the end of this episode, but for anybody that's on the fence about this game, don't be. It is just that good. I would arguably say, I mean, look, I don't want to get too above myself, but I would say that I actually, at this moment in time, I like this cast a little bit more than JD and them. I can't lie, man. I mean, I really like the way that this game was done. And, like I said, just the different enemy types, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Locust is there, but they throwing a few things in there, man. It just, whoo, this game was really good, man. It's been awesome so far. I can't say enough good things about it. Yeah, man, just gameplay. Even the gameplay feels a little bit better. Now, I gotta say, like, switching from cover to cover, I can't remember what Gears 4 did or Gears 5. My memory is shot to heck, when it comes to that. But the moving around of getting into cover, from point A to point B, you kind of peek out to the side of the cover and it'll show you the arrow of where you can go and it just automatically snaps to it, automatically snaps to the other location. It's just really, really good, man. And for $20, for $20, what are you doing if you haven't picked this up? So I have been loving that game so far. Good gosh. Like I said, Rod Ferguson, man, look, I don't think the coalition is going to be hurting at all. At all. Matter of fact, I mean, it seems just a little, I'm not going to say it seems a little bit more adult. I mean, Gears 4 and 5, they were adult, but man, it's just the banter of the squad is just yes. This right here, this is what I was trying to say. The coalition with this game has shown me, and I know you guys are probably going to say, Keys, you need to pump the brakes. You're going a little too off kilter right now. But I would say that they are a top tier developer that is, and here we go, that could rival any, oh man, here we go. They could rival any PlayStation developer. I said it. I think that, look, Naughty Dog, I'm not going to quite put them on Naughty Dog's level. Naughty Dog, that's a big ask. You can't get them, they're not quite there. But I would say, man, forget that. No, I would say these guys, they are comparable. They might not be 100% where Naughty Dog is, but man, all I'm saying is this Hive Busters. This thing has shown me that this is a top tier studio. They really, really are. And I would put them against, I wouldn't have done this before, but I would say they can perform on the same level as a Sony developer. You give these guys the budget, I think they definitely have the talent level. And I know you guys are probably not going to agree, but that is my stance on the subject. Now, the other game that I played, that guy Doug, I got to say, this one was amazing too. Oh man, I was on the late freight with this one, but Ghost of Tsushima. Oh gosh. This was a game I was waiting on. I don't know why I was waiting on. I think I was broke. I've been broke, guys. I've been pretty broke lately trying to get games. But what I'll say is Ghost of Tsushima. Oh man. God dog. This game right here, brothers and sisters. Oh man. Oh, man, graphically, good gosh, man. Graphically, it's amazing. It is just absolutely stunning. Golly, the character models, the cutscenes, the scenery, the gameplay, the voice acting, the story is cool. I'm not saying that's like probably the highlight of it, but it is a good story. I mean, it's keeping me engaged. But man, those backgrounds, brother, the landscapes and stuff. Good grief, man. The way that when the wind starts blowing and you start seeing the grass start to sway back and forth or the daffodils or the lilies in the doggone field, man, this game is absolutely stunning. I mean, listen, man. I know I said that the Coalition, I would put them up against any Sony developer. Even with this game, Hivebusters, just to go back to that in the environments real quick. The thing that I love about Hivebusters 2 is, I mean, they got some greenery in some of the scenes, some of the levels, it's some greenery, it's, some outside living, and I know they've done that before, but it just looks really good. It looks great, man. So I'm going to stand on that. But getting back to Ghost of Tsushima, good gosh, I can understand now why this was, the gamer's choice game of the year. This is the game that, gamers chose to get that. And it has been remarkable, just the detail of when you slice into somebody and you see the doggone blood still on the blade. God dog, man. I mean, the blood, it shoots up on your clothes. It is just, it's magnificent. I'll give it to it. It is an incredible game. I would say I'm about 3, maybe 4 hours in, and this time I'm very sure of that. That it's been about that long because I have a couple of clips up on the YouTube channel where I was playing it, and this game is just really, really solid. I mean, just I don't know what more to say about it. It's just a really good game. If you have been waiting for like a Tenchu type of game, and see, it's kind of hard to talk about it too because it's old now. It's been out for a while. And that's crazy that we consider a game that's about 3-4 months old is old, but I mean, it is, but it's just been amazing, been sensational. It has far exceeded, what I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be this good. I didn't think that I was going to be this engaged with the game, which is probably why I kind of held off on it for a little bit and didn't get it. Well, I actually didn't get it. Shout out to Renee. She got it for me. So, it's just been awesome, brother. It has been absolutely wonderful. But with that being said, man, I have rambled. It was a great week for me. It was fantastic. The time off was awesome. I had a great time. It was just great, man. Just fantastic. But yeah, with that being said, I guess you guys already know from the length of time that we are in right now, this is going to be a long one. This is going to be a long episode because I really, truly am so happy to be here. But we're going to see how long we rock out, man. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what we all come here for. And that is the gaming news that went down. Now, I want to put a bit of a caveat out there real fast. Some of these stories may be a little older that you guys are already aware of, but then we're going to get there to the newer stories. And there is my phone blaring off. God darn it. Like I say all the time, man, this is unprofessional productions over here. But anyway, let's get into the first story. Let's kick it off with some numbers from PlayStation when it comes to game sales. So this is according to a LinkedIn profile of TJ, and his last name, I'm going to struggle with this, but I think it is Konsunji. It's spelled Consunji. Konsunji, who is PlayStation's group marketing manager, who is reporting that God of War sold 10 million copies in its launch year, and as a result of it, the game has made $500 million. But it doesn't end there. Horizon Zero Dawn sold over 8 million and made over $400 million. But combined, Uncharted and The Last of Us this is a crazy stat, made over $1 billion. Now, I know it's not all profit, but combined, they have made pretty much $2 billion on 4 IPs. Now, I have to say, with those kinds of numbers, to be fair, as much as I am on a high from Hivebusters, the Gears DLC, I don't know if Microsoft is selling these kinds of numbers. I just don't know. 10 million, 8 million, it's possible. But I mentioned this just for the simple fact that we know that Jim Ryan said that they have a response to Xbox Game Pass. He's not going to talk about it, or he hasn't been talking about it thus far. But with these numbers, would you be in a rush to have a Game Pass comparison with these kinds of numbers? Now, granted, the way that I think Sony is going to play it, because this is a crazy amount of money, $2 billion off of 4 different IPs. Well, I know that they were saying that Uncharted and The Last of Us, combined made that much. So let's just say, yeah, that is 4 IPs. Minus the DLC that probably came out for Uncharted, The Lost Legacy, that being included in this figure. But that being said, $2 billion. I mean, I would have to imagine that Jim Ryan, he's looking at this and he's saying, you know what? We don't have to rush to get there right now. The Game Pass model, yeah, that works for Microsoft, but for us, we're eating too much off of this. I mean, the fan base is tearing these games up. They are buying them at a crazy amount, at a heck of a clip. We shouldn't be in a rush to get into that business model. Now, what I think that Jim Ryan, he might do is his response might be, with his Game Pass equivalent, could be, hey, he's going to let these games sit on the market for 6, maybe 9 months. He's going to, maybe even a year. I think that's a little too long. I think he should go with the 6 to 9 months, because that's usually the hotbed for games. Most of the time they sell the most. I think like the first, 3 months they're on the market, somewhere around there. And then they kind of tapers off, unless I guess you're a Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption or some kind of Rockstar game. Those guys, they have a long tail with their games. But outside of them, normally I think like after 3 months, the sales start to slow. So even if Jim Ryan, he plays it like this, he says, look, we'll wait, this 6 to 9 months, get all we can out of the game, milk it for as much as we can, and then we put it in the service, later on down the line. I think that he might go that route, because even with the PlayStation Plus, the subscription service, he still has some games in there that are older, like Days Gone, that's in there. God of War, that's a little older, has 2, almost 3 years on it, coming up this year. So, yeah, maybe that will be the play, but this was just an astronomical number. I did not know that combined Uncharted and The Last of Us made $1 billion. God dog. That's a powerhouse, man. But let's go ahead and let's move on into the next story. Now, I want to preference this story by saying it's speculation. So take it with a mustard seed of truth. But according to one of the developers over at 343 Industries, who is working on Halo Infinite due to his LinkedIn page, he mentions the game's release window is sometime in 2021 for Xbox Series X, the S, and PC, but he never mentioned, no. God dog. This is one that's a little out of date, people. Golly, see, here we go. Actually, the community manager, it was some talks out there that was saying that Halo Infinite, excuse me, Halo Infinite was supposed to only be on the Series S, the X, and PC. But the community manager, John Junizek, he said, quote, "Nope. Please let me enjoy the holidays," end of quote. So he actually, and he said this over on Twitter, where he said that wasn't true by saying nope. And so, yeah, it is still coming to the Xbox One, which, golly, some people are upset about it. I'm a little upset. I ain't no a little upset. I'm upset about it. Let that mother lover go, man. Just put it on your more current hardware. Forget that other stuff, man. Just move forward. But I understand from a financial standpoint that they can't do it that way because they would be leaving a lot of money on the table. I get it. But isn't that what Game Pass is for? I mean, golly. I don't know, man. Anyway. Yeah, it's not true. It's going to be on the Xbox One, which really pains me. It really does. And I mean, the screenshots, the new ones, they look good. It looks better. It looks like it could be doing something really, really good over there. Well, 343 looks like they could be doing something really good over there, but I would have rather just been on the Series X, the S, and PC, and that way you could get the maximum return on what the game would be able to really, really do without a ceiling. Let's go ahead and move into the next story. So the DualSense controller is back under fire because on the PlayStation forum, as it stands, over 1,000 PlayStation 5 owners are reporting that the R2 trigger is snapping and becoming less sensitive. And based on, it is the, I got this from the Gamer article. Based on that article, it is anecdotal evidence. It shows the R2 button is more susceptible to breaking than the L2 trigger. And when the R2 trigger breaks, it's often due to a loose spring. So if you're handy enough, you could fix it. But if you're like myself, if you're like me, I would recommend you call Sony and get them to send you a new one. So this is a fear that some people said they were going to have. Well, that they had. Was with these sensitive triggers, you know how they lock up when it comes to 2K21 when your character starts running up and down the court and eventually they start getting tired, the trigger buttons become harder to press. I have wondered myself, with that sensitivity of it tightening up, if a person isn't aware, that it is purposely doing, I'm sure they would be. I mean, come on, God dog, it doesn't take much to understand that that's a mechanic. But if a person wasn't aware, just throwing that out there, if that wasn't the case, I mean, good grief, and you're pressing down hard on this trigger, and all of a sudden you're getting frustrated, so you're pulling down more and more pressure, and then snap. God, dog, man. I mean, the feeling, the emotion of, golly, here it is, this PlayStation 5. It's not out in the stores like I would like it to be. It's not readily available. I'm not saying that that's the case with the controllers. I mean, they could be readily available, but who the world wants to have to pay for another controller? Let's say Sony doesn't replace it. I think they would. I don't think Sony wouldn't do it, but I've heard that Sony can be a little touch and go when it comes to some of their policies. So let's just say by chance the controller that you have, it snaps and you got to get another one, but none are available, and Sony isn't trying to give you another controller or fix the one that you have, which I doubt would be the case. But just saying, if it was, God dog, you were just out. You were just out, man. So it's interesting to see that this is the situation. Like they said, more than likely it is just a spring that you would have to replace. And I mean, who the world wants to go through that? But hopefully Sony is getting it under wraps, getting it together, and they're gonna do what they can do to make sure that they get this problem resolved as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. Now, I got this one from PC Gamer. Now, Tencent has acquired Digital Extremes, the developer behind Warframe, for $1.5 billion. So with that being said, I thought, why not see what other gaming companies Tencent has a hook into? Because we hear that Tencent owns so many things around gaming and, they just have their hands in so many pots. I thought, why not check them out and see what they are really into? So, to start this off, they own 100% of Riot Games, who makes League of Legends. And they made an estimated $1.4 billion in revenue last year. They own 40% stake in Epic Games, who makes Fortnite, which made $2.4 billion last year. They own 11.5% of Bluehole, who is behind PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. They own 5% of Ubisoft. They own 5% of Activision Blizzard, 8% of Grinding Gear Games, who made Path of Exile. They own 84% of Supercell, who is behind Clash of Clans, which Tencent invested $8.6 billion into the mobile game developer. And we thought that, we thought that the acquisition that Microsoft made, $7.5 billion for ZeniMax, was huge. These guys just dropped a bag. Well, they didn't just drop it, but they dropped a bag of $8.6 billion into the mobile game developer. But it was reported in the PC article that 60% of Tencent's $19.13 billion in gaming revenue came from mobile games. Let that sink in for just a minute. They invested $8.6 billion into this mobile developer, but they came out 60% of what they made, which was $19.13 billion in gaming revenue, came from mobile games. It is that much revenue in the mobile game market. God, dog. $19.13 billion. Anyway, let's keep going. Now, they also own an undisclosed percentage of Jaeger, who was behind Spec Ops The Line, which was a really good game, and Platinum Games, which they invested in 2020. Now, they own 9% of Frontier Development, who are behind Elite Dangerous, where they invested $17.7 million into them. 13.5% they own in Keiko, which is spelled Kakao, who developed Black Desert, which made over $1 billion gross in sales last year. And they published PUBG in South Korea as well. They own 5% of Paradox Interactive, who make Hearts of Iron, 36% of Fat Shark, who make Warhammer Vermintide. Tencent spent $56 million for that deal. They own 29% of Funcom, which are behind Conan Exiles. They own 100% of Shark Mob, who is made up of ex-devs from the Hitman franchise and The Division. Their first project, it hasn't been announced yet so far, but they invested $158 million in funding Discord, but the percentage of how much of the company they own has not been disclosed. Oh, and before I forget, to mention, With them acquiring Warframe, whose parent company is Leiyu, they now own Splash Damage as a result of the deal as well. And they just made Splash Damage, that is. They just made Gears Tactics. So yeah, Tencent is a major player and a problem in this gaming industry. These guys are making so much money. You see how many hands they have in the pot of gaming. I mean, Epic Games, Ubisoft, mobile developers, just picking up Splash Damage as a result of the acquisition that they just did. These guys, man, we all better watch them, because they own so much in gaming. It is ridiculous. And the money that they are generating, 19.13 billion, just off of the mobile games market. It just blows my mind. How much money? I can understand why these companies, they are chasing that magic dragon called the mobile market. These guys are trying to get these numbers, and it's hard on the console side. It's hard. I just told you guys that combined with Uncharted and The Last of Us, combined, those two franchises made $2 billion. But here, Tencent made 19.13 billion. I said billion. God dog, get it together, brother. Billion in gaming revenue just from mobile games. Good gosh. Tencent, I got my eye on you, mother lovers. Good gosh. These guys could try to take over gaming. It would be crazy. Anyway, let's go ahead and move it to the next story. Now, over the holiday break, we got some potential leaked info on the new Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I got this story from Lad Bible. Now, the leaker is comparing the game to Bully. Now, before we go any further, this info is coming from an unverified Reddit source, so take this with a mustard seed of truth. So these are the alleged details of the upcoming game. It says you can interact with NPCs, compliment, taunt them at your own discretion, adding, quote, taunt someone too much and they will report you to a teacher. So get out of there or suffer losing house points. End of quote. Now, the leaker also says that it will be a dark story and could potentially feature a multiplayer raid system and being able to tame and ride animals. So I can understand where by the way, Rockstar, what is going on with you guys in a sequel to Bully? I think you guys know that we would absolutely enjoy having a sequel to Bully where Jimmy, he goes off to college and he gets into some mischief over there at a university. I think everybody would enjoy that. But anyway, sticking with Hogwarts Legacy, I can understand the comparison because back when Bully, well, it's still available now. I mean, you can play it, but back then you could taunt people, the different NPCs, giving them wedgies and stuff like that. So I can understand the comparison there, but it is good to hear that it's supposed to allegedly be a darker story. And I mean, the multiplayer thing, you guys know I don't play multiplayer. It's not my thing, but for the people that are interested in it, that could be a great feature as well. I think this game is supposed to release sometime this year. I'm not 100% sure, but that's all the info that we have on that game thus far. Now let's talk more numbers when it comes to Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, unfortunately, it looks like Miles didn't see the heights of the original PlayStation 4 release. Spider-Man sold 2.2 million copies at launch, while Miles Morales sold 663,000 copies during its launch. Now, could those numbers be due to the fact that many gamers thought the game was short and not a full-fledged game? I mean, keep in mind that this, oh yeah, I kind of skipped around there. I mean, I think that could have had something to do with it, but it is interesting because this game was available not only on the PS5, but also on the PS4. And that was a bit of the news that was going around. It was a short game. It was 5 hours long, and it just wasn't a long length of a game. So I mean, maybe that could have potentially kind of stopped some sales of it. But the thing is, though, I do want you guys to understand that this was digital sales only. Physical units sold were not tracked by SuperData, who are the outfit reporting these numbers. So maybe physically, and that's the thing, I would have probably believed that maybe more were sold physically, but due to the climate that we're in with COVID-19 and stores not, I mean, they're open, but people aren't trying to be out. Well, I don't know, man. I see a lot of people outside, I mean, without a mask on, mask underneath their nose and whatnot. So, I mean, I ain't going to go that far. But I will say that since it is a little different, and it's more convenient to get the game digitally, maybe, I was trying to say that physically maybe it could have sold a lot more, but I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, one of my like my best friends, his kids, they don't want anything physical. They really just want digital. They don't want to own the game's disc. They don't want the case. They wanted the digital PlayStation. They didn't want the physical one. So, with the younger demographic, that's kind of the way that they want to have their media. They don't want to have physical. They just want it digitally. So this could really hold some weight. I wish it had done a lot better because I heard it was a fantastic game. But it's just really, man, it's unfortunate. 663,000 copies. And I'm not saying that's bad because I'm sure that for the most part, these sales were probably on the PlayStation 5. Don't get me wrong, PS4, I'm sure that sold as well. But whenever I hear someone talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales, it's always the PlayStation 5 edition and not the PS4. So, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with the overall sales of the game. But right now, it's unfortunately not looking too good for Miles Morales at 663,000 copies. Let's go ahead and get into the next story. Now, in Assassin's Creed news, Assassin's Creed Valhalla news, in a Game Informer interview, producer Julian, man, these last names, brother, they just be getting me, man. Lafferie is spelled Lafferriere. Laferriere? I don't know, but I'm going to keep on going. He still has more plans left for Valhalla. Quote, he says, when looking at Valhalla's post-launch plans, it was important to me to have quality of life fixes in there and also be able to react to the new platforms because they continue improving. We've got great reception on PS5, Series X, and PC as well. People are definitely enjoying the high-end capabilities of the game, so we want to continue to capitalize on that. This isn't meant to sound like BS or cliche, but for me, it's about hearing what the player base is saying and reacting to that, on top of the extra content and the features. End of quote. So it looks like that Mr. Julian, the producer on Assassin's Creed Valhalla, he is going to continue to improve the game based on player feedback, which is fantastic. It's great that these guys are keeping the door open. If the player base sees something that they possibly want, I mean, maybe ray tracing may be added to it. I don't know if they can do it, but the way that he's wording this, they are open to make sure that whatever the player base wants, I'm not going to say whatever, but what the player base is asking for, if it's in reason, I'm sure that's probably the caveat to that. If it's in reason, they will possibly be able to add it into the game at a later date. So like I said, I don't think Assassin's Creed Valhalla had ray tracing in it. I don't think it did. I could be wrong on that. But if that's a feature that players want, then maybe these guys can make it happen. But it's just great to hear that they're going to continue to improve the game and, continue to do these quality of life fixes to the game. But let's go ahead and let's talk about some rumored Xbox Game Pass news. Now, there are reports over at the website called Express that are suggesting, now this would be unbelievable if this happened, but they are suggesting that Microsoft is looking into adding Ubisoft Plus game service to Game Pass. Now, as it stands right now, the only place you can get Ubisoft Plus is on PC, Luna, and Google Stadia in beta. Now, at the moment, there is no way to access it on console, but Ubisoft did say, and I quote, "We are launching this beta to bring Ubisoft Plus to more platforms and give you the freedom to choose how you play." End of quote. So with that being said, it's one thing that Game Pass has in common with Luna and Stadia. It's a game service. And to be fair, Game Pass has around 15 million subs, and they already have EA access in the service. So how likely is it that this will happen? I would say, now, keep in mind, once again, this is all speculation. This is not confirmed. But I would say it could be possible. And since PlayStation doesn't have a Game Pass-like service, really, Game Pass is the only console service of its kind on the market at the moment. So just imagine, just for a second, maybe a minute, let's just live in this world just for a minute, that you get Game Pass, $15 a month, or maybe $10 a month. And in this service, not only are you getting Xbox exclusives day one, you're also getting access to EA games as well. Then top it off with you also get access to Ubisoft games as well. God dog, my goodness, would that not be the absolute creme de la creme of doggone gaming services? Here it is, $10 to $15 a month, and you're getting access to 2 other publishers and developers of games on top of what Xbox is giving you, and on top of the third-party deals that are already inside of Game Pass, outside of EA, and if it was to happen, outside of Ubisoft. This would be, man, listen, I mean, this is one of those things where I think, looking at it from a reality standpoint, this might be a little too good to be true. But if we're going to live, and I do want to live here in this world for a minute, if this was to happen, good gosh, it would just be and me, I'm not a Game Pass owner. I don't have Game Pass. I like to own my games. You guys know this already. It's not a secret. I don't have anything against Game Pass. I just want to know that I own the game. So I'm a dinosaur, man. I'm a dinosaur in this thing. But for the average person that just wants value for a service, and they're not into the collecting aspect of it or just wanting to have that physical disc in their hands, this is an amazing deal. Will it happen? I don't know, but having access to Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, and if it ever does release, the game Beyond Good and Evil, that's a tall order man, that's a tall order. I mean, good grief I don't even know the word I was trying to find, but that's just an amazing value. I mean, Rainbow Six, just the list goes on and on. Ubisoft has a big plethora of games that they have. So this will be something, I hope it happens. I would have never thought, well, I could see EA, that deal happening, because at the time, for quite a while, you guys probably will remember that EA Access was only, as far as consoles went, was only available on the Xbox brand. And PlayStation, they didn't want it over on their platform. It took a while, maybe 2 years or so, before they they took down the gates and let EA Access onto the platform. But because of that, I figured that it wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't really expect it, but I didn't think it was far-fetched that Microsoft would have been able to have coerced EA over into their service, because they were already over on that platform for quite some time, and they have a history together. So Microsoft and Ubisoft, they also have a history. We'll just have to see what happens. I believe Far Cry 6, Microsoft, I believe they have the marketing rights to that. So, and Valhalla, Microsoft had the marketing rights to that. So they are working closely with Ubisoft, where this deal, it could possibly happen. I think that most people would love to see this happen, because it only builds up Game Pass and it gives it more value. It's already a great value where it is right now, but you put Ubisoft Plus in there, that's just a huge, fat, juicy strawberry on top of the doggone cake. So we will have to see if this turns out to be true. Could you imagine if they make some kind of announcement like this at E3? I mean, God dog, that would just be really, really dope to hear. That'd be great. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on, man, God dog, into the next story. Now, in quick news, according to Gamitsu, the PlayStation 5 has shipped 3.4 million units in its first 4 weeks on the market, making it the highest shipment numbers for a PlayStation. And usually, to put it in perspective just a little bit, shipped doesn't mean sold. But since the PlayStation 5 has been selling out wherever it hits store shelves, I think it's a safe bet to say they sold that many units. And also, according to Digitimes, the PlayStation 5 production is set to reach 17 million units this year. I mean, these numbers are staggering. I understand you guys might be saying, hey, wait a minute, Keys, you adding a little too much onto this. You adding too much spice onto the doggone situation. But here it is. Think about this. This happened 3.4 million units in its first 4 weeks. That's almost, it's not quite there, but that's almost 1 million consoles sold a week. Almost 1 million sold a week. That is unbelievable. In an economy where it's tanking. It's tanking. I mean, unfortunately, so many people are out of work, and it's sad. It's horrible, man, to have that situation. But yet, 3.4 million units moved in 4 weeks. God dog, you gotta tip your hat to Sony for that. I mean, that's That's amazing numbers. And them saying that it was the highest shipment numbers of a PlayStation, that's incredible that they sold through that in that amount of time. I said it once and I'll say it again, and I hope I end up being wrong because I want competition. I want Microsoft to be at Sony's throat. But I said that this generation coming, the generation that we are currently in, it was going to be far worse for Xbox versus PlayStation. I said that they were going to absolutely demolish Microsoft when it comes to consoles sold. And right now, I gotta say, these guys are off to one heck of a clip at 3.4 million. Can they keep it going? Can they keep the steam running at this high of a level? I don't think they can. I mean, I think it's impossible. But them talking about that they're set to have production at 17 million units by the end of the year. Let's talk about that just for a second. Do you guys think that it is even possible? I absolutely do not. As much as I think that the PlayStation is going to be on one heck of a run in this generation that we are currently in, I don't think this is possible. But do you think that they could sell 17 million units, not shipped? Because once again, shipment numbers are one thing. They just are on the store shelves. But to sell to the consumer 17 million units by the end of this year, do you think that's possible? I would say heck no. But the way this thing is selling, and this year for PlayStation 5 is looking unbelievable. We're talking about, and I've talked about it a billion times, but I gotta mention it one more time. We're talking about possibly, and I don't think it's gonna happen, but they say it is. I don't believe them. But God of War, Ragnarok is supposed to be coming out. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is the game that I am so looking forward to. Gran Turismo, what are they on, 7 or 8? I can't remember. That's coming out this year. I mean, what is it? The Tokyo Live Wire or whatever it's called. That's coming out. I don't think that's going to do numbers like that. Deathloop, that's coming out. But these guys, my point is, they got games coming. And they got them coming at a fast clip. If these are games, and Horizon, Forbidden West, my goodness, these games are games that gamers want to play. I'm not saying 17 million, but I think they are going to sell extremely well, especially since, as it stands, and we can only talk about the current, what's going on at this moment. As it stands right now, Microsoft doesn't have that huge game coming out for months, and that is Halo. They're supposed to come out sometime near the end of the year. I think the fall sometime. Fall of 2021, this year. But that's a big, long, wide gap to have to fill when you have Sony hitting you with so many titles, so many big titles in such a short window. So that could definitely sway a lot of people one way versus the other, where they'll be like, well, shucks, I mean, Sony has so many of these games coming out that I want, and Microsoft, they're not quite clicking the way that I need them to. I'll hold off on the Xbox. You know, so it's going to be so interesting to see how well, you know, they continue to do into this year and into the off season, because once the holidays end, you know, stuff, it goes down. People aren't out there shopping heavy and hard like they usually are, until, I will say, it might be a spike when doggone tax returns come out. That might spike a couple of doggone sales. When people get the tax return money, oh, people go crazy out at the store. So I don't know. They might have a second wave coming very, very soon, especially since a lot of people couldn't get their hands on it during the holidays. I'm sure those same people like myself want to get the console, so they're just waiting to have the opportunity to get it. So that might be one we have to look out for. Tax return time. Yeah, it might just spike up again. But anyway, let's go ahead. I've talked way too much, and we are going to be well over an hour on this episode, but I'm happy to do it because I missed you guys. Now, let's go ahead and get into, oh my gosh, wait till y'all hear this news. We're going to talk about some CD Projekt Red news. Now, we know that they have been under major fire and brimstone as it's been lately over the way that Cyberpunk 2077 released. But director of Cyberpunk 2077, Adam Badowski, wasn't done shocking people where he announced at a press conference, and this is his quote, I'm not making any of this up. He says, quote, yeah, we're gonna put Cyberpunk on the Switch. So make sure to charge up those Joy-Cons. End of quote. Now, I have to point out that the hard drive article did mention that Badowski was suppressing his laughter and doubling over in front of the podium which he stood in front of while he was making this announcement. But he continued and said, quote, it's just ridiculous. It's gonna be totally optimized too. Next gen graphics, high definition particles, oh yeah, and ray tracing. Oh my God, it's gonna have ray tracing. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Oh my God, Cyberpunk on the Switch, holy, I'm not gonna say his word, but holy crap, dude, end of quote. Now, I don't know, look, this brother might have slightly, just temporarily, lost his mind, been insane because of this crazy pressure of lawsuits and people wanting to burn CD Projekt Red down. It's possible the brother could be temporarily enableized in the mind right now. In the mind, I know that wasn't the right word or whatever. I don't care. You know, he might just have just kind of lost it for a minute. But can you guys imagine that the Nintendo Switch is supposed to be getting Cyberpunk 2077. This brother said ray tracing. Oh my gosh. On the Nintendo Switch. I think it is safe. I don't know what to think. But I would say I think it's safe to say this is a joke. I don't think this is real. But at the same time, I don't know why he would even say this. I mean, he just said, yeah, we're making a Switch. You know, Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch. I mean, this is the thing, man. God dog. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 struggled bad enough. But my goodness, could you imagine just for a second that Cyberpunk 2077, they attempted to put it on the Switch? Good gosh, my goodness, my gracious. I don't know how, what was it going to run in 2 frames a second, brother? Good gosh. I don't know. I do not know, but this is the thing that I will say when it comes to the Switch. We heard this a couple of weeks ago, man, that Control was going to be on the Switch and it was going to be able to be streamed to the Switch. They were working with this stream technology and that was going to be the first game to actually put it to use. Now, could he be talking about some kind of streaming service? Not a service, but some kind of streaming application being put on the Nintendo Switch for it to be able to stream Cyberpunk 2077 to the Nintendo Switch. Now, I do know that that's possible. People over in Japan, they were running Resident Evil, I think it was Resident Evil 7 on the Nintendo Switch like last year sometime. And this was the early part of last year of 2020. It was reports coming out that they were doing that. So the ray tracing, man, I don't know about all that, brother, but could it actually be a situation that they are really trying to make this happen? I mean, they do have some experience with the streaming because it's on Google Stadia. So they're not new to the streaming side of it. I mean, how crazy would that be that Cyberpunk 2077 actually ends up on the Nintendo Switch and it works? And it works. And they were saying that, now this part, I don't know if this is true, but as far as the release date of it, they're saying it's supposed to be sometime this year. One of the reports said that it's supposed to be sometime, and I don't believe this, but sometime this month in January. So, hey, man, listen, I don't know, but it is doggone interesting. I would absolutely love to see Digital Foundry get their hands on the Nintendo Switch version of Cyberpunk 2077. My gosh, I don't think it's even any more to even discuss with this. So we're going to move on into the next story. Man, we got quite a bit of show left. Golly, I was writing a little too much this week. Good grief. But, even though this news won't break the internet, it is some interesting Bandai Namco news making the rounds. Now, this is coming from an interview that Games Talk had with the director behind the Tekken series. Man, and I had this brother's name doggone rehearsed, and I still am gonna mess it up. Katsuhiro Harada. I believe that's his name. Katsuhiro, last name Harada, who gave a bit of a hint as to what the new project will entail. He said, quote, mostly, I think this might be the most costly development project in Bandai history. I think it's incredible that the higher-ups approved of this. Well, the approval has passed. It's just that due to the coronavirus, we haven't really been able to properly start the project. End of quote. So what could this be? Here it is. This gentleman said that it is the highest doggone budget that they have ever approved for them to have. So I wanted to go over some of their notable franchises outside of Tekken and Soul Calibur that could possibly, they may be revisiting, with this huge budget that these guys are getting from the higher up. So outside of Pac-Man, of course, I think Pac-Man helped definitely build the Namco Bandai house, but they also own the Tail series, Ridge Racer, Ace Combat, Xenosaga, Dragon Ball, Time Crisis. Man, I would love to see another Time Crisis. That'd be pretty dope. Naruto, One Piece, and they also own Dark Souls 2 and 3. And even though it's not out yet, Elden Ring is under their roster too, just to name a few. So with the budget being one of the biggest they have ever signed off on, and us going over, a few of their franchises, do you think they're going back to the well, or are they starting development on a brand new IP? I mean, they also own Gundam, Suit Gundam, and it's a couple of other joints that I didn't name, but since these are all pretty established franchises, I would have to think that if this budget is going above anything that they've signed off on before, I can't imagine that they'll be going back to one of these IPs and making it, making a sequel or making it brand new again, which would be the case with Time Crisis. So I think that, I'm not saying it's a safe bet, but I think it's a pretty good bet to think that this is going to be a new IP that these guys are going to be working on now. Unfortunately, like he said, they haven't even started any production on it because of coronavirus, but I guess we'll get some more news about it, in the coming, I'm not going to even say months, it might be years before we hear anything about this. But it is good that these guys are still working. Hopefully it is a new IP, and they'll be able to give us something great to play again, because these guys do have I think they have a solid track record. I think Namco does really well. I mean, Tekken, Soul Calibur. I mean, I named the games. I mean, Ridge Racer, I don't think they're going to go back there either. So it'll be interesting. But moving on to the next story. So Nintendo president of America, Doug Bowser. I mean, God, Doug, could you have got a better person for the job with the last name Bowser? Good gracious. Didn't even know Bowser really was a real name until this guy came on the scene. Bowser. Man, this guy's in the driver's seat. So he sat down with Polygon, and during the interview, he said something that was kind of telling. He said the Nintendo Switch is at the, quote, midpoint, end of quote, of its life cycle. So if you remember, the Switch released March 3rd, 2017, which means that the Switch will be 4 years old this year. So does this mean that the Switch will be around for another 4 years? Since Bowser, he did say once again, it is at its midpoint in its life cycle. I mean, golly, can you imagine? 8 years the Nintendo Switch could be on the market. Now, we have heard, the rumors that there is a Switch Pro coming out this year. Now, could we see the Switch? And we know that Nintendo, they've denied it. They said it's not true. But, I mean, everybody is hoping that, they're just blowing smoke and it really is going to be a Switch Pro. Because can you imagine, do you think Nintendo would be this wild? I mean, you know what? Yeah, Nintendo is ridiculous. They're just absolutely crazy. I think they would try it. I think they would doggone try to see what they could do. I think Nintendo would leave the Switch. I don't think it would be the best idea, but I think they would try to let the Switch ride out for another 4 years, making it 8-year-old hardware. It's even older than that, maybe 10 or 11-year-old hardware by the time that midpoint is over, for the Switch. I do hope that maybe this just means that the Switch Pro, it still will come out, but they will also sell the Nintendo Switch alongside the Switch Pro, because I just don't think it's possible that another 4 years go by and you're still on the same hardware with the same limitations. I mean, I know Nintendo, they are the masters. They are the kings of the handheld market, but it is a console as well. It's a hybrid, which is absolutely unbelievable that it is that, but you gotta eventually move on. But hey, with people, like Cyberpunk's the director or the developer saying, hey, we're putting Cyberpunk on the doggone Switch. I guess what's the rush? I mean, with ray tracing and that on it, what is the rush? But we have to see if that does turn out to be true. Another 4 years on the market without an upgrade or anything like that. I don't know. But I will say that I can understand why they may, think that it could do that, because as it stands right now, the Switch has sold 68 million units so far in its life cycle. 68 million. And it's not even quite 4 years old, which is pretty spectacular. So we're going to have to keep our hand on the pulse with this one. But, yeah, Doug Bowser, man, oh man, the midpoint in the Nintendo Switch's life cycle. That's where we're at. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Nintendo. Hopefully, Metroid and what's the other game I was looking forward to? Yeah, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. They asked Bowser about those, and Bowser, he just simply said, when we have something to report, we will report on it. So as it stands right now, we have nothing to say. And one of the developers that's behind Bayonetta, I believe the director of that game, Bayonetta 3, he was also saying that the project is coming along well. It's, it's still coming along smoothly, but they're just not ready to really reveal anything right now. So that's 3 really big games that they have in their stable that people are waiting for. And hopefully sometime this year, we'll get some word about, at least Metroid. God dog, Metroid got that announcement years ago at this point. So, people need to know something, man. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's move on into the next story. This is really dope. This story right here, oh man, let me just get into it. In quick PC news, a third-person view mod has been created by Baker, spelled Baker. His first name is spelled, he or she is spelled Jelle. I would have thought it was Jelly, but Barker, for Cyberpunk 2077. Now, the Kotaku article did warn that if you move around slow and steady, the mod looks good, but if you move faster and more suddenly, things start to look less elegant. Now, if you want this mod, you can go to Kotaku and look for the article entitled Cyberpunk 2077 Gets Working Third-Person Mod. They have the actual link right there on their page, and you'll be able to get this. I thought it was so cool, though, looking at the character, looking at the gear that they had on, and just the way they were walking through the city. I think that would have been a much better option. Now that I've actually seen it, because before all we had was the first person perspective. We never could see anything in third person. But that mod, golly, this game would have been incredible with that third-person mode in the game. Hopefully, if a modder can do this, come on, CD Projekt Red, you should definitely be able to do it. You guys remember that even in Grand Theft Auto 5, even though it was a whole nother version of the game, they did add that first-person perspective into Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So with that being said, hey, CD Projekt Red hasn't officially made the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X versions of the game. I'm sure they're gonna probably pull assets from what they have, but who's to say that they couldn't add a third-person perspective on those console versions of the game? I just think that it would just really be so much better to do it that way. That way you can see the gear that your character has on. You can really see the world outside of that first person perspective. It really looked good. So PC guys, I don't even have the game as it stands right now, but I am, golly, a little jealous of you mother lovers, having this mod, that allows you to play the game in a third person perspective. That's really dope, and that's one of the things in the PC community that really stands out versus console. You guys get a lot of mods, and a lot of them are really, really dope. So once again, it's not 100%. Like I said, it can get a little jittery. It can look a little bad if you're making sudden moves, moving around fast, but keep it slow and steady, and it looks fine. But let's go ahead and move into another quick news story. Now, CES 2021 will be taking place from Monday, January 11th until January 14th. Now, of course, because of COVID-19, it is no in-person attendance, so these guys will be having a lot of their conferences online. And they were saying that NVIDIA is going to be there and AMD is going to be there as well. And we know that TV manufacturers, they're going to be there. I'm sure that PlayStation, they're going to be there. Microsoft, they're going to have some, Xbox, they're going to have some things to announce. Heck, probably Microsoft as well, at the show. So it'll be interesting to see. So next week, keep your eyes peeled for CES 2021. Now, in more Xbox news, Xbox Series X. If you're an owner of the Series X and you're looking for more storage, or the S, but the X, if you're looking for more storage at the moment, Amazon is selling external solid-state Xbox Seagate hard drives at discounted prices. So for a 1 terabyte, that's selling for $159, and for a 2 terabyte hard drive, that's selling for $299. So when you compare that to the Series X 1 terabyte expansion card, which costs $219.99, it's a really good deal. And the external hard drive, just to put a little bit more, just a few more sprinkles on ice cream for you, it comes with 2 months of Game Pass and a year rescue service. And the read speeds, if you were trying to figure that out, the read speeds of the drive is 540 megabytes per second. So, 2 terabytes at $300 versus 1 terabyte for $220, or the 1 terabyte for $159, which in essence, that would give you 2 terabytes, because you already got the terabyte in the system. I know it's not quite a terabyte. I get it. But, having that with this at $159, that saves you quite a bit of money. Saves you about $50? If my math is pretty good. I'm not great at math, but I think that's about it. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20. Actually, that's $60. Yeah, $60. So go on over to Amazon if you're trying to find some more storage for your console, if you have an Xbox. And I believe Goose, he had done some that was a good episode. He actually was talking about the load times on the episode where they were talking about him and Mike J. Shout out to those brothers, where they were talking about the load speeds. Well, it was Goose. He was talking about the load speeds of the external hard drive on the Xbox Series X. So if you guys want the real speeds, go over there, check that episode out, where they were giving me their first impressions of the Xbox Series X. And I think he said that they were pretty comparable. 2 seconds off, maybe somewhere around there. So it wasn't really a big difference. So if you could go the external route, and save some money on the way and get a little bit more bang for your buck, then this might be the way that you want to go. So once again, go over to Amazon and check that out. Now, this is finally the final story of the week. Now, this final story comes from developer Gen Design, who is the team behind Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. Now, over the holiday, they released a 2021 greetings card where they showed the 3 games that I just mentioned, but they also showed off a 4th game as a teaser of what they are currently working on. Now, studio head Famitsu Yuda, spelled E-U-D-A, he did tell Famitsu back in 2018 that the new project would be, quote, something on the scale of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. So these guys have been busy. Hopefully we get some more information about this game this year, because it looks like it's gameplay. The screenshot that they showed, it absolutely looks like it's in game. And if you are a fan of those kinds of games, I'm sure you're looking forward to their latest project that hopefully will be coming out maybe this year. You got to think 2018, he was already talking about it. Roughly about 2 years, almost going on 3. Maybe we get something. We'll see. But we know how The Last Guardian, God dog, how long that took to come out. And I gotta say, The Last Guardian, it was good, but it sucked. It was terrible. It was good, but it was terrible because of those doggone controls. Man, the controls were so horrible. It was horrendous. But I still enjoyed the game. But anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week to start off 2021. But you know what? I want to take you guys back to a time, back to a place for 2021. And I want to say that we are going to get into video game theater. And we will be back right after that. And this week, we are going to feature Gears of War 4. Since I am on such a high from Hive Busters, God dog, I thought it was only right. So we will be back after this week's video game theater. Stay tuned, guys.
Oh, God. Dad. Oh, come on, Dad. Dad! Damn it! Come on! Oh, come on! Come on! God damn it! Hey, damn it! Get up!
JD.
Dad!
Stop.
Get up! Come on, Dad, get up! Come on!
Stop! You gotta let him go.
No. He's gone. Help me get his armor off! You're okay, Dad. We got you. Wow. You smell bad. James. In that pod. I was in their network.
Network? What network?
This whole hive. It's all connected. All the people they've potted. I could feel them.
And welcome back, game players. Welcome back. God dog. That was one of those scenes in Gears of War 4, brother. Kind of stopped for a moment. Was like, oh, crap. Is it true? Did it happen? But we all know how it turned out. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to, and before I move on into the final section of the podcast, I want to give a shout out to Sir William X, who asked me what happened to video game theater. Brother, you might have just single-handedly brought it back, man. So shout out to you, good brother. But let's go ahead from that and move on into the final section of the podcast. Now, I know you guys saw the question, but we're going to go over it officially. So, is it time for a Nintendo Switch price cut? That is the question, because here it is, the Nintendo Switch will have been on the market this year, 4 years that we already established, because Bowser said it's at its midway life cycle point. So at 4 years under its belt, is it that time that the Nintendo Switch gets that price cut? Now, I understand some people can say, but they have the Nintendo Switch Lite. That is cheaper. I get it. That's cool. That's fine. But I'm not talking about that console. Ain't even a console. It's a handheld. Because you can't even hook it up to the TV and get the same benefits as the Switch. So, that is my question. Is it that time? 4 years. We know Nintendo, they refused to put that price, or to take that price of the Wii U down from that $299 mark. They fought to the death, and it sold abysmally. I know abysmally ain't a word, but it was abysmal with the sales. So here it is. They are very successful with the Switch. The Switch is flying off the shelves. They are having no problem moving Switch units. It is not a Wii U situation, not by a long shot. So is it because of the time and them not hurting for any of the money or the sales, do you think that Nintendo needs to drop that price? Me, I think it's time. It's 4 years. They've already had a couple of not anything like heavy as far as a rendition of the console, but they've changed some inner parts of the console over the years, that have taken out some things, because I think at one point you were able to, I forgot what it was. It was something that they took out. Anyway, I'm getting off track. But I think 4 years, it's time to do that price cut, man. Take this thing down to $250, or even crazily, let's just get wild with it, which it'll never happen, but $199, maybe not that low, $249.99. I think that's great. If they could lower it to $200, that would be even better. It would absolutely it's flying off the shelf now, but at that price point, I think it would just elevate it to a level that they just wouldn't be able to keep enough in stock. So I would love to get you guys' opinion on this. You can do it 2 different ways. You can call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard to voice your opinion and be a part of the upcoming episode of listener feedback, or you can email the show at the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Man, I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and it felt so great to be back. I haven't done an episode this long in a little bit of time, almost an hour and a half. We've been here, it's an hour and a half right now. Golly, haven't done this in quite a while, but I was just so happy to be back, man. So happy to be talking with you guys. I might have wrote too many stories, but I'll let you guys know I'm going to get back to the format, the regular hour or so, maybe slightly longer than an hour. I'm going to get back to that format next week, but I was just so happy to be back and be able to talk to you guys and be in you guys' presence. It's just absolutely awesome to me. I want to thank you guys also for the amazing, just the incredible support that the show has been getting over the whole 2020. Numbers just went up, man. It just went up just to a level I just was not expecting. And I thank you guys for that so much. Thank you guys for rocking out with me every week, coming through, leaving the listener feedback, being a part of that episode as well. And just thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. But, with that being said, I've been long-winded enough on the first episode of 2021, so I'm going to wrap it up here. But before we officially wrap it up, always remember, it is not about the consoles. It is about the games, and we got a lot of them to look forward to this year. So until the next episode, it'll be recorded later on this week when we do it again. You guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.